For many in American society today, the idea of buying a home symbolizes that they have achieved some level of success or garnered some semblance of stability and order in their lives. It is a significant acquisition in anyone's life, no matter their previous ownership status, income, or credit score. Therefore, because home buying is such a worthy investment as well as a significant commitment, potential buyers need to have the best possible information at their hands to evaluate the landscape of today's real estate market. Now, in surveying our 6 cities, we aim to produce a data set that will predict the average house price changes in the year 2020. This type of information can only be predicted accurately when employing proper data analysis techniques. Again, the significance of this information to potential buyers cannot be overstated, and having a grasp on this type of information provides them with insight and power as they prepare to shop for their next home. Our group sought to provide answers to these types of questions for potential homeowners. Now, initially, the group worked to acquire the necessary information from the applicable data sources and organize that data in an appropriate manner. Next, we worked with the data to generate insights that it might be able to provide. We performed various data analysis methods. Then, having identified the most accurate method, we produced the forecast for the North Carolina housing market in the year 2020, and then would go on to report those results. Now, with any forecast, accuracy is paramount to being able to accomplish desired goals effectively. Producing accurate and timely records from this project will result in potential buyers and possible potential sellers with the information needed to make the best decision for them and their family. Using the prescribed methods we discussed earlier, we feel that we will be able to succeed in achieving our goal of securing accurate forecasting records for the housing market in the year 2020 in North Carolina.
As an introduction, in this group project, we are going to utilize the prediction technique of data analytic to the field of real estate industry in North Carolina. In the past few years, the house prices in this state has been steadily increasing together with the economic growth. As housing is always a basic physiological need of society, it is necessary to understand how the prices are changing to adapt with the new financial requirements. By surveying the 6 cities which are Asheville, Greensboro, Monroe, Reeford, Red Springs and Wendell, we will develop a data set of average estimated house prices for these cities from January 2011 to December 2019. Based on the data set, we will apply the data analytic techniques that we have learned from the course to predict the average house price changes in this year 2020. This is the main focus and the purpose of our project. For the data source, the raw data will be acquired from Zillow.com, GraphTool, a popular estimator in the real estate industry. As an example, in this figure, we are moving the focus point across the GraphTool to retrieve the history monthly average prices in Greensboro from January 2011 to February 2011 and to March 2011.
Data collection and analysis. In order to collect our data, we used Zillow.com. We collected data on the 6 cities which the members of our team currently reside in. These cities are Asheville, Greensboro, Monroe, Rayford, Red Springs, and Wendell. We collected the average monthly cost of a house in each of these 6 cities each month from January 2011 through December 2019. We then used this data to estimate an average house price for the state of North Carolina as a whole, by averaging each of the 6 cities in each month. Approach and methodology. Our goal was to develop a model that was able to accurately predict future house prices in the state of North Carolina. By gathering information on the 6 cities we reside in, we were able to estimate an average house price for the state of North Carolina as a whole. Once we had our historical data, we ran 3 methods of forecasting data to find which one best fit our data and could be used to accurately predict prices for the year 2020.
For a brief data set information, after acquiring all the monthly average prices from the 6 cities in North Carolina, we will develop a data set following this table. The total data records that we need to acquire for our project is about 576 records. And each team member will acquire the records for one city. Based on the data set, we will apply the data analytic techniques that we have learned from the course to predict the average house price changes in this year 2020. The three identical forecasting techniques we will use are moving average, exponential smoothing, and regression model. Then we will compare the mean absolute error, the mean square absolute error, and the mean absolute percentage error to select the most accurate technique for the prediction. From the selected technique, we will be able to project how average house price changes will be in this year 2020 with the best accurate rate.
We plan to use methods described by Albright and Winston to develop a model algorithm that will be used to predict future home prices. The forecasting technique will involve weighted moving average, exponential smoothing, and regression methods. We will then combine these methods together to create a form of meta method. A weighted moving average method utilizes past numbers, but puts emphasis on more recent past numbers. This method smooths noise better than exponential smoothing, while still placing importance on recent values. Exponential smoothing cannot adequately deal with outliers or noise, especially if they are recent. Yet exponential smoothing is able to place emphasis on recent values over a longer period of time in a meaningful way that a weighted moving average cannot. One of the pieces of literature we reviewed finds that simple regression models are unable to adequately predict future home values due to their inability to capture the complexity of all elements that may affect home value. Additionally, they found that variable selection and importance is integral to the success of a home predicting venture, and that tree-based methods will be able to best handle the complexity of home value prediction. Our analysis likely does not capture enough complexity to be as accurate as this researcher would like. However, given the limited resources we have, we are unable to go further with advanced analysis other than taking the multiple methods of simple linear regression, weighted moving averages, and exponential smoothing and combining them. If no other factors than inflation exist, we can generally expect house prices to rise at a steady increase year over year. Utilizing a time series analysis of the data, we created this chart, which uses the data from January of 2011 through December of 2019. Housing prices as a whole dipped toward the start of the decade, and then most cities had their housing prices increase steadily from there. The only city this didn't really occur in was Red Springs, which also happens to be the lowest priced city. The dip in home values likely involved the continued recession. The recovery from that recession, based on the 6 cities we reviewed, helped wealthier homeowners more than poorer homeowners. From January of 2011 to December of 2019, the average home price ended up dropping from $58,362 to $54,929. The average home price for all cities during this period increased by 42%. Monroe and Asheville led the pack with 52% and 49% increases respectively, and Greensboro had the lowest increase, not counting the 6% decrease for Red Springs, of a mere 21%.
Once we ran our 3 forecasting tests, we wanted to find out which one was the most accurate. In order to do this, we looked at 3 different measures of error: the mean absolute error, the mean squared error, and the mean absolute percentage error. The mean absolute error takes the average values of the forecast errors, and by using the absolute value, it avoids the problem of positive and negative errors offsetting one another. The mean square error takes the average of the squared forecast errors. This also avoids the problem of positive and negative errors offsetting each other. The size of the mean absolute error and the mean square error, though, depend upon the scale of the data. so it's difficult to make comparisons for different time intervals. To make such comparisons, we need to work with the relative or percentage error measures. This is why we also use the third test, which is the mean absolute percentage error. This is the average of the absolute percentage error between the forecast and the actual values. Out of the three measures we are testing, we will use the one with the smallest errors as our model of choice to predict the house prices in the year 2020.
Now we will discuss implementation. We will hit on the key points of forecasting, accuracy, mean absolute error, mean squared error, mean absolute percentage error, weight moving average, exponential smoothing, and linear regression. For the forecast accuracy measures, we utilize mean absolute error, mean squared error, and mean absolute percentage error, which all have the particular advantages when analyzing predictions. We utilize each measure in order to measure the difference between the forecast and the actual predictions throughout the market. In order to complete this process, we were required to complete a two-step process, which is as follows. Initially, create a model that fits the historical data. Next, we built upon this procedure by utilizing the said model to generate a prediction for the impending. The mission is to seek a model that generates a small forecast. This model should also produce models that produce figures suitable for historical data. The same model is also likely to result in good tracking for the future data too. Again, this theory is not definite but very typical and likely. By utilizing all three forecasting errors, we are able to analyze all three findings against each other. The mean absolute error and the mean square error are the most similar out of the three different methods. The mean absolute error using absolute values of error versus the mean squared error produces error in squared form. The mean absolute percentage error is the easiest to understand as it reports its forecast through percentages. Through this process, we were able to measure both historical and future mortgage rates for 6 cities in North Carolina. Additionally, through our trial models, we were able to produce more definite results analyzing different descriptors to include weight moving, average, exponential smoothing, and linear regression. Linear regression can be described as the relationship amongst the given variables, response, and explanatory, as being straight line versus nonlinear being curved. These results can be determined through scattered plots, time series graphs, and more. Through this, we were able to decipher outliers, unequal variances, no relationship, and correlations for the anticipated mortgages. Next, we utilized the moving weight average model, as this implementation is done through the model having a span, the number of times in which each moving average is. Through this, we were able to obtain predicted mortgages for designated time frames. Next, we utilized exponential smoothing forecasts for 2 possible criticisms of the moving average methods by putting equal weight to the average and fulfilling the required data storage. Through this forecast, it deters the 2 criticisms by giving little data storage and focuses its forecast on more recent observations and uses past weight averages as a baseline as demonstrated through the presented analysis.
According to the results and analysis, we have the prediction models comparison as table below. In terms of MAS, MSE, and MAPE, the method which has the lowest values would be the best accurate method and the lowest error possibilities. Here we have exponential smoothing as the best method with the highest accuracy. However, exponential smoothing is only able to forecast n+1 period with known data from n period. Therefore, this method is limited to predict the house average prices for only the month January of 2020 with the known data of December 2019. To predict the 12 consecutive periods as the 12 months of 2020, we need to use either moving averages or regression model. In terms of MAS, MSE, and MAPE again, the second lowest error rate is moving averages method. As the outcome of our projects, we determined to use the moving averages model to forecast the house average prices in 2020. Following the chosen moving averages model, the average house prices in North Carolina in 2020 have the forecasted values as table below. From the data, we can see that average house prices are low in January but increasing through the first quarter of the year. Then they are slowing down in the second quarter started from April. The prices then go up again and become quite stable during the third quarter and the fourth quarter. Therefore, the advice for investors and homeowners is January and April are used to be the best times to buy houses at the lowest prices. The average house prices are highly fluctuated during the months of February, March, and July, which are risky. Buying houses in these months will take the possibilities of significant price changes that may be a loss or a profit for the buyers.
Hello, Herman Rashard to present the contribution to the students in which our research has given us. Some of the contributions in regards to us as students could be being potential buyers and sellers throughout each of these markets. From living in the region, all of us can tell that throughout the Fayetteville, Raleigh, and Charlotte regions, areas around are growing at a pretty good rate. And being so, as a seller, we can look into utilizing the same platform to sell on Zillow. Also looking at buying through Zillow and getting some adequate pricing and seeing for being a future seller within those regions or being a future renter in those regions. In which being a renter, some of the platforms we might look at using is Airbnb. Through these platforms and also through the data that we've collected, in some of these regions you can see a big chunk of growth, and also you can see the potential investment that could come from being a renter in most of these regions. As it applies to the performance of the team, we did a pretty excellent job at making sure everything was put into place, following guidelines, and also being ahead of time in regards to making sure that we had ample amount of time to review our performances and also obligate time to get third parties to look at our information in regards to each section of our project. We ensured that we collaborated and coordinated each portion in which we allowed everyone to pick something that they either favored or had some experience in, so we could get the best of each of our members. Also, we held basically small meetings via group meet text in which we transmitted information to allow us to piece together our project. In doing so, this allowed us to bring forth our project together in a manner where we benefited in a substantial manner of learning how to perform certain research and also utilizing the algorithms that we were given in the appropriate manner as it applied to the research that we did through Zillow. In conclusion to the team performance, I believe we performed at a high standard, and I will now be followed by Adon with the conclusion statement.
In conclusion, we think this is a very meaningful project which gives us the opportunities to apply the analytical skills and lessons that we were taught in class. We have also learnt a lot of experiences from the industrial field researchers and the data collection. This project has demonstrated to us how essential data analytics is in resolving the practical problems of business and society today. Group 4 want to express our special thanks to Dr. Algandor, who spreads to us the inspiration of academic learning, guides us through the obstacles, and motivates us to accomplish the best values for the project. We hope this project will be a valuable reference for residential home buyers, investors, also real estate professionals.